3 up, 2 across, tap that play button 3 times, and walk through the archway into Dialogue Alley. Hello, and welcome to the podcast. Dialogue Alley is a show about Harry Potter books, book translations, and all other things magical. I'm Melanie from the Harry Potter collection, and with me today is Erik.
Hello, everyone.
Erik and I are Harry Potter book collectors of various translations and other assorted Harry Potter fun things. And we know each other from social media, from Instagram. That's how we connected in this little fun Harry Potter community. And here we are making a podcast about it. Today, we are finally getting to our emails and answering questions, which we've been saying we were going to get to pretty much for the last 3 episodes. So we picked some of our favorite questions and we're finally going to answer them. So that's happening.
Yes, so we didn't forget about any of you. I know it's been 3 episodes since we've answered questions. So
I know.
We've kept them all. Do not worry. And if we don't get to yours today, that doesn't mean we didn't get it. It means we will get to it in a future episode. But I'm hoping to catch up a little bit on questions.
I agree. And the questions that we got are really fun ones. So I am looking forward to answering them.
As am I. All right. That's the plan.
All right. Now let's get into some news.
Okay, for news this week, there isn't much or anything, really, in terms of, new stuff. Besides the fact that we are, by the time this comes out, I believe the Harry Potter store in Manhattan will be open.
Yes, and I will have gone to the Harry Potter store by the next episode. You
will have gone. Did you talk to, I know Peter, the Potter collector, went to a preview event. Have you talked to him about that?
I did. I'm meeting up with him on Thursday, so I'll be going through the store with him and his mom, and my mom's going to be there too, and we're bringing the baby, and it's going to be a crazy, awesome, fun day. I know that he put out a video. Both of my parents watched his video that was a full walkthrough of the store, but I'm avoiding it because I don't want spoilers.
That's, you know what? I feel the same way, and I'm choosing to not watch spoiler videos because I want to be surprised the very first time, so.
Yeah, and I've seen, a few things here or there, and probably, once I'm done in the store, I'll go back and watch Peter's video just because I love watching all of his YouTube videos. But I'm excited to experience everything, especially on opening day. I'm really excited that I get to go do that. So
for sure. And you have the luxury of living close enough where you don't feel like you need to do everything.
Yeah.
You'll see everything, but you don't have to buy everything.
I mean,
the first time you go.
I'm still probably going to buy so much stuff, especially there's baby stuff. I'm going to buy all of the really cute Harry Potter baby things that are going to be at the store. There's going to be so much, but I am just pretty stoked that it's going to turn into one of my stops. My husband and I have certain places that we go to every single time we're in the city. We have our favorite Israeli iced coffee shop that we go to every single time, and our favorite shawarma place that we go to every time, and
Nintendo World.
Oh, obviously. So
I go there every time.
We definitely have our list of things, but this will for sure be another one of those things that we end up going every single time, if not at the very least to just grab a butterbeer and walk around the city with it.
Absolutely. And I wonder if eventually it'll get to the point where you don't have to have a virtual queue to get in.
I'm sure.
If you'll be able to. And I'm pretty sure it'll eventually get to that point. I just wonder how long it will take until that happens.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be too bad. I honestly think that during the week, it'll be a bit more settled than it will be on the weekends. I think probably after the summertime, once you hit the fall and the weather starts getting cooler, people aren't really traveling to the city as much. So,
right.
I feel once we hit the fall, it might be a little bit more settled. So,
true. So, I'm excited. So
I can't wait.
But by the time you listen to this, Melanie will have been. So, can't wait for that next episode because you can tell us all about it.
I can't wait.
And make me awesome. Super jealous.
I'm going to try not to make you jealous, but I'm going to try to make you want to book a trip to come so then we can have a visit. We'll get the kids together. It'll be great.
That would be awesome. Very cool. All right, so I guess the only other news is book pickups that we have accumulated. So we talked about before. We don't really get a lot of new books anymore.
So it's exciting when we do get them.
It's exciting when we do get them. So I mentioned before that the Chinese Deluxe set was my favorite. I bought the books that I did not have, which were all of them except book 1 from Jacob, but he did not have book 5 for sale. He was keeping that for personal reasons. And I mentioned that I was able to buy book 5 on eBay. It was the only one that the seller had out of the whole set. So that was super lucky. And that arrived, and it was in great shape, too. So now I have the full set, and now I have the decision of, do I put them in alphabetical order with all my other books, or do I put them off to the side as a set?
Ooh. I mean, I'm pro alphabetical order. Like, I am too,
but like I have some of my box sets, like my German Rainbow box set and my French Room of Requirement set, kind of off to the side, just because the box looks cool, and I want to be able to see the box. So
I get
don't
that.
know. I'll probably end up putting them in alphabetical order as well.
All right. Well, stay tuned.
Stay tuned for that. Yeah, I'm sure people are just dying to know how I end up shelving those books in my basement. Oh, man. Just the ups and downs. And then the other pickup I also got from Jacob was the House Edition Book 6 in Slytherin Edition. And for some reason, I never picked that up. I thought I did, but I never did. And then it was way expensive for a while in other places. And he was selling them, and I figured, hey, I'll just buy it from Jacob instead. So I did.
Why not?
So now I'm all caught up with those just in time for the Deathly Hallows to come out this summer. And then I can be done with those and set them up in a really cool way, because they do look really cool when they're all together.
That they do. I actually just took mine like out of my actual bookcase, and now I have them separately on top of each of my bookcases. So I have 4 bookcases. So each bookcase has a different house on top. But my book 6, all 8 of them are currently in the UK because I sent them, my best friend lives out there. So I sent them to her to save like $50 on shipping because I'm supposed to go in the summer. Hopefully, if restrictions let up, I'm supposed to go for her wedding. So I'll grab those books then.
Seems like a good plan.
Yeah, we'll just spread them out between all the people that are going to bring them back so our suitcases aren't too heavy.
All right. Well, that's all I have for book pickups, but I know that you also have some pickups. So what'd you get now?
Do. So I got some books from Sean, which I had mentioned either last episode or a few episodes ago, but I finally got Maori, which I had needed for so long and felt so behind that I didn't have that book. And I got the new Italian cover art set, which I know you guys have mentioned several times about how much you love that cover art.
Well, we love the picture of the cover art that we've seen on the internet. And what I've heard from people is that it looks better in person. And I'm sure it does. But it's still not my jam in terms of art style. And that's okay, because some people really like it. And that's cool, too. But what do you think?
I like that they're like, I feel like you referred to them as like Star Wars style. And I feel like that is very accurate, that they kind of do remind me of like a Star Wars travel poster. However, the books themselves are incredibly cheaply made. Like in your hand, they feel so flimsy. The jacket is like the only thing that's somewhat nice. And it's like they went for that buttery texture cover that we talk about all the time.
Yeah.
But it's very like fingerprint smudge receptive. So like anytime you touch it, it kind of leaves like the oils from your hands are on the book. And then when you open the book and look at the boards look very cheap. It's just like, I'm like slightly disappointed in the quality of them. But I do like the actual imagery. It's just the overall like quality of the book is just like not a home run for me.
Right. Well, I mean, I think we always like when there is something original, whether it's great or not.
Absolutely.
Like, I'm all for that. But I still can have, we're still allowed to have opinions on what we think of the original art, but I'm still 100% of the time, I'm all for a horrible original art. Looking at you, Iran. I'm always for that instead of just a reusing of something else. So
Yeah, I agree. The other thing that I got was, I don't know if I mentioned, but like I collect Harry Potter Funko Pops on top of collecting my books.
that's why you need to move.
Tell me about it, because I started collecting them when they were first released. So I literally have every single one. Like I have every Harry Potter Funko Pop except for 2 or 3. No, there's 4 of them that I'm currently missing, but they're easy to get ones. They're not like exclusives or anything like that. But I just picked up 2 of the Patronus Funko Pops that came out.
I like those. I don't collect pops, but those are like the kind of opaque ones, right?
They're cool. The only thing I don't like is like they came out with Dumbledore's Patronus, which is literally just them using the same cast that they used for Fox. So it's not really like an original thing. It's just like, we have this mold, let's just use it. Like they added a little bit to it to make it more Patronus-y. But it's fine. I mean, Dumbledore's Patronus is like seen one time in the movies. And then they have Remus Lupin's Patronus, which is never seen in the movies. So that's like a little weird. And it's more so like mentioned in the books about Tonks's Patronus being a wolf. So that's why, I don't know. It was just like a funky choice. So I'm just missing a couple of the holiday ones that came out in the winter, which are in my Amazon cart. And they also made a McGonagall Patronus. So I'm missing that one as well. So then I will be all caught up. And then by the time I'm caught up, they will release another wave and I'll hate myself.
We talked about this before, how like Harry Potter is a weird IP where they just keep coming out with more stuff. I mean, do you ever think that they will stop coming out with Harry Potter Funko Pops? Because honestly, if people keep buying them, they won't. And so
no, there's people like me. Like me. So people like me have been collecting them since they started coming out and have every single one and now need to buy all of them. And the only thing that I'm mad about is I also bought all of the Fantastic Beasts ones. So I have every Fantastic Beast pop. So when the next Fantastic Beast movie comes out, I'll have to buy all of those pops as well. So like, I don't even enjoy it anymore because...
and that's the worst, when it gets to a part where you're, like, going through the motions. You're like, I gotta get these new Funko Pops. And you wish that they would just say, we're done. You know, so, like, you can say, I'm done. And then they can come out with something else that you can choose to, like, not
It would be nice.
Collect.
It would be nice. But alas, earwax.
They know what's in the collector brain that we possess.
Yeah, gotta catch them all.
Oh, man. Exactly. All right, did you get anything else besides, so you got New Italian,
Maori, and Funko Pops.
So with Maori, you're back to all the translations now.
Yeah, thank goodness. I hated saying, like, I have all of the translations of book 1, but, like, secretly I didn't have Maori, but now I have it, so now everything is right in the world.
Well, I had bought mine, and then it never showed up. And so, like, I said I had them all, and I didn't, but I bought it and it shipped. But then the publisher was super nice. I emailed them and they said, I'm super sorry, I'll just send you another one.
Oh, that's nice. Okay.
So yeah, they were great.
Yeah, that's why I got that one from Sean, because I was like, you know what, it's a sure thing, I'll just get it from him. I mean, they do have them on eBay, but it was just easier to get it from him.
It's easier, and we've talked about this before. If you get it from a collector, yeah, you might pay like a couple dollars more, but you know 100% what you're getting and that it's going to show up looking great, and they're gonna mail it in something nice.
He mailed them in a diaper box, which I really appreciated.
Love it.
Because I pulled up I pulled up to my house and I saw this box of Pampers and I was like, newborn size. Why would someone send me newborn Pampers? Like, the baby's almost 4 months old. She doesn't fit in those. And then I was remembered that he said that he was going to send it in a diaper box. I was like, wait a second.
That's funny.
This makes sense. So yeah, I guess that's it for news. Do we want to get on to our main segment?
Yeah, let's answer some questions.
Yay! Okay, so we have some really good questions to answer that I'm really excited about. Our first question, as an adult, why is it important to like Harry Potter?
Well, I think as an adult, it's important to like something. We're kind of in this unique wave that seems unique to us because we are around the same age and we grew up when this really came out, I think, as a popular book, and then the movies came out. So we kind of grew up with all of this as well. So I don't necessarily think it's important to like Harry Potter, but I think it's important to like something that keeps you connected to your childhood that you enjoyed.
I mean, I would say to directly relate it to Harry Potter, like I think it's important to like it because some of the morals that are in the book are very relatable. And I like what you said about it being nostalgic because these are things that like, besides the fact that like we read the books and we related to the books as kids, but I also tie specific memories of, I know exactly where I was when I was reading book 6 for the first time, or I know where, I know who I saw this movie with, and I remember who I went to the parks with for this important time. So I just tie all of these other important memories that I've had in my life to Harry Potter. And I think that like why it's important to like it as an adult is because it helps us to remember those really important times in our life when we were kids. And I still consider myself a kid. Like I'm a parent and a homeowner, but I'm a kid. Like that I'm always going to like Harry Potter. It's always going to be a huge part of me. So I think it's important to have ties like that.
I agree 100%. I don't know, having something like Harry Potter that's still like a quality product that wasn't made to just like sell toys to kids, like I think is a huge part of that too. All right, so question 2. This is from I Am Ridiculous on Instagram. Ridiculous, like the ridiculous patron Boggart spell. He wants to know, why did the Patil twins? Why were they shown so poorly in the movies?
It's funny that this is a question because my husband and I were literally just watching Goblet of Fire, like, I don't know, 2 days ago. And he paused it and just went, ugh. And I said, what? And he goes, I just can't stand that the Patil twins are in the same house. Like, they just did that as like a cop-out because it was easier to just put both of the Patil twins in Gryffindor house. And like us book readers, we all know that Pavarti is in Gryffindor and Padma is in Ravenclaw. And that's what's so cool about them is that they're twins, but they're in 2 separate houses.
Yeah, and they even mentioned that like when someone else is being sorted. Like, siblings are always in the same house, right? And she's like, no, the Patil twins aren't, and they're identical.
Isn't that crazy? I know. So that's like my biggest pet peeve. But also, like, I know that I think Pavarti is represented in the 3rd movie as well, but it's a different actress, and she's the only one. They don't have Padma at all, and I'm pretty sure I think they do show her as being in Gryffindor, but they show her when they're doing the Bogart, like when they have that lesson.
Yes.
So they show her for like that split second. But like I feel like something we were talking about before was that a lot of these characters are like misrepresented in the movies versus the books, not just the Patil twins. So I think that like this is a really good example of like bad book to movie translation, but there are definitely a ton of other characters that have that like bad translation as well.
Yeah, and to me, I agree with you 100%. And to me, to kind of go off on that, which we should, I mean, I think Carly and I talked about doing like an episode on every movie and book together. Like we watched the movie again and then just compare it to the book.
Love it.
But when the movies came out, they were coming out just like translations were, right? It's not like all 7 movies were out and then they made, or all 7 books, I'm sorry, were out and then they made the movies. Like they hadn't finished all the books before they started making the movies. So there was no way to know like who was actually going to be important and who wasn't. And I think Carly and I talked about like Bill Weasley. I think we were talking when Robbie was on talking about wands. Like Bill Weasley turns out to be like a big deal in the book. And they just introduce him in the movie 7, like right before they take Harry from the Dursleys. They're like, oh, by the way, this is Bill Weasley. We've never met. Hey, Bill. And
Oh,
it's like
and
this.
he has the scar on his face, like, for no reason. Meanwhile, that was, like, a huge thing in book 6, is how Bill got scarred up. Like, I don't know.
I don't
Completely
know.
left
So
out.
it's when the screenwriters are making those adaptations, they really have to decide what they can omit or not. And at the time, like the Patil twins in the first 2 books, I mean, like they were just kind of background characters, much like all the other people in Gryffindor, right? I mean, only one of the twins was in Gryffindor. So then they realize when they get to movie 4, like, oh man, like we can't omit the Yule Ball scene because that's a big plot point. And Harry and Ron both go with the Patil twins, so we have to have them in the movie. So then they just shove them in the movie, and then we really don't hear from them again. Much like how in movie 7, they're like, oh, Ron kind of dates Lavender Brown, and she's in all the books because she and Pavarti are really good friends, but they realize they have to, like, make her a character because she takes up a big chunk of the book when Ron is kind of absent from Hermione and Harry's friendship while he's off with Lav. So it's Juan and Lav. My sweetheart. Isn't that the necklace she gives him? Gag. So, yeah, I mean, I guess my answer to the question is I don't think it's exclusive to the Patil twins. I think it's all quote unquote minor characters that have major roles in the plot points, but they don't in every single movie and book. And so that's why, again, I like the book so much more just because of the depth and character development they give everybody that has a role.
Yeah. Nope, I completely agree. All right. Question 3. What is your favorite chapter, paragraph, or theme from the books? And this is from Sean.
Oh, man. I don't know. I guess... I mean, paragraph...
I have a few.
I don't have a paragraph prepared. I don't have a... I mean, the theme that good it conquers evil. I mean, I that is obviously, to me, the best theme of the series, right? Like, that was when this book caused so much controversy with certain religious groups for, like, portraying magic and, like, satanic literature. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, this book's about good versus evil and good wins. Like, I don't get that. I guess my favorite chapter is probably, I don't know the name of the chapter, but when they're going to the Quidditch World Cup and they're, like, experiencing all the other people of the magical community, like setting up the tents and stuff. Just because it's like the first time in all the books that you get kind of a glimpse into the rest of the wizarding world that's not exclusively tied to something to do with Hogwarts or, like, exclusively Harry's plot path, if that makes sense.
Oh, totally. I love that answer.
How about you?
I feel like I have a lot of answers for this question. I could say a few favorite chapters of mine, just to, like, be brief on it, are I love the Mirror of Erised chapter. I love the Princess Tale chapter. I love King's Cross is amazing. Like, those I feel like when I read the Princess Tale for the first time, like, I feel like it was as if I was reading the book and the words started coming at me 3-dimensionally because I was just so absorbed in reading that chapter, because it's just like you believed this one thing for the entire time you're reading the book, and then all of a sudden, or the entire series, and all of a sudden, like, you're seeing things in a completely different light. So I feel like that was an amazing chapter. Overall, I would say my favorite things throughout the series, every book has a chapter where it's Dumbledore sitting down and explaining something to Harry, and that's kind of like Joe's way of explaining things to us. And I feel like those chapters are always my favorite. So, like, in Sorcerer's Stone, it's like right after Harry comes out from through the trapdoor, it's Dumbledore visits him and explains to him everything about how, oh, he's protected because of his mother's love. Awesome. Then there's after Chamber of Secrets, after they come out of the chamber, he explains to him, like, there's always those little chapters. And I could say that that's why Half-Blood Prince is my favorite book, because majority of the book are those conversations between Dumbledore and Harry and explaining so much of the history and everything. So I would say overall, those like little themes, like all of the Dumbledore Harry themes throughout the series are my favorites.
And those are the chapters that you really actually get to see Dumbledore as a character. Like the other times that he talks, even in the stories, is just like to everyone. It's not like exclusively to Harry. So like he isn't saying anything beyond what he would say as a headmaster of a school, right? I mean, he's just being his quirky self, being the leader of the school. And yeah, like you get to really learn more about him as a person, or like how he thinks and, you know, how he views the current like Voldemort situation. Oh, I said it. Am I allowed to say it? I don't know. So
I didn't gasp immediately when you said it, so I guess it must be okay.
Someone just tipped over in their rolly chair right now.
And
I'm sorry. But no, I agree with you, and that's a really good theme. I wasn't thinking about that, but now that you mention it, yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah. All right. Next question. This is like a short one. Do you want me to read it? I don't remember.
I can read it.
All right.
Okay. So the next question is from Brock. Oh, long-time listener. Brock writes in a lot. What language would you like to see the books translated into?
Ooh, I feel like this is something we've talked about, and my answers are so silly, but like I would love to see it in like a made-up language.
Yes, like Klingon?
Or like Elvish. Like that's
yes.
Like I feel like I recently watched the Tolkien movie, and after watching that and seeing how like he literally developed like a linguistic full language, like I would love to see Harry Potter translated into Elvish. It'd be so cool.
I still think I agree with you 100%, but in terms of like real languages that people quote unquote speak, I still am kind of floored that there is not an Esperanto translation.
Isn't there though? There's a PDF of it.
Yeah, but it's not an official one.
I know. But it exists.
It exists.
It does exist.
For those of you that don't know, Esperanto was developed by linguists, and it was supposed to be like the global language. So everyone on Earth was supposed to learn Esperanto so we could all communicate to each other, which in theory is a great idea. But it clearly it didn't work. Unless you're listening and you're like, what do you mean it didn't work? We all speak Esperanto. I think there's one country that actually does speak Esperanto, and I can't remember it. But then my other one that I'm shocked that they don't have is, oh man, I'm blanking now. It's an African language. Swahili. Yeah. Why is there no Swahili translation?
It's a good question.
I don't know. I know people read Swahili because I had some students that went to Kenya for a year to study, and their school was all in Swahili. So clearly people read it, and it's a very popular language. So that's one I'm kind of perplexed that there isn't one for.
Well, never say never. I can't wait because we're up to 95 languages right now. Like I am very hopeful that we're going to get to 100 soon. So.
All right. So those are our answers.
All right. So we have time for one more question. Like we said, doesn't mean that we're not going to get to more questions because we do have a lot of other ones, but this is just what we have time for. So.
I like this one. Are you ready?
I'm giggling as I'm
this isn't much of a question.
It.
I mean, it's more of a request, I think.
We got a special request to each read a paragraph from the Scots translation. And hopefully we're not offensive in any way as we're trying to do this. It's all in good fun. And we're just going to sound a little silly doing it.
We are. And for those that don't know the Scots translation, if you look at it as a native English speaker, you can definitely figure out what's going on, but it is definitely a little bit different than what you're normally used to seeing. And I will be just reading it in my normal northern United States accent, and I will just be reading the words as I see them.
Sounds great. All right, so what are we doing? You want to pick a paragraph, and then we can each pick a paragraph for the other person?
I'm going to start flipping, and you tell me to stop, and I'll read the first paragraph on that page.
All right, let me know when.
All right, I'm starting.
Stop.
All right, this is from chapter... I don't know. That's from the Keeper o' the Keys.
Nice.
Here we go. Something vera painful was going on in Harry's head. As Hagrid's story came to a close, he saw again the blinnin' flash o' green licht more clearly than he ever minded in afar. And he minded something else for the first time in his life. A high, cold, cruel loch.
Oh, that's Harry remembering like
Voldemort's cackle.
right. That's him remembering like the spell for the first
next
time.
Okay, hold on. I have to read 2 more sentences. The next one's pretty tame.
Go ahead.
Hagrid was watching him sadly. Oh, nailed it. Next one.
Amazing.
Because now they're doing Hagrid's accent. This is, oh my goodness. Ten yaut o the ruined house messel o Dumby Dykes, that's Dumbledore's orders, brocht ya ta this sure.
Yeah, that I don't have any idea.
No, but Dumby Dykes as Dumbledore is just good enough for me.
Amazing.
All right.
Amazing. All right, I'm flipping. Tell me when to stop.
Stop.
All right, so this is from The Journey Fae Platform 9 3/4. I guess we can all figure out what chapter that is. Dinna great, Ginny. We'll see ye hunters e hoolits. We'll see ye Hogwarts clugdy seat. Georgie. Oh, that's cute. Georgie. Just joking, Ma. I'll read one more part, right. and then I can't. The train started to move. Harry saw the laddies mither, waving, and their sister hoof lachin, hoof greetin', rinnin' tie keep up with the train until it gathered our muckle speed. Then she stapped and just waved.
Hey, you had the word lotchin', and I had lotch too. That was laugh.
Yeah,
we are already becoming more and more fluent in the Scots.
Amazing.
Scots
well done.
Language. And ironically, I was flipping from back to front, and I stopped, and I was on page 101, and that's the page that you were reading from.
Get out.
No joke, and I was following along.
Amazing.
Magical, shall I say.
Awesome.
So if you want to send us a question like any of these fine young people did, you can email us at dialoguealleypodcast@gmail.com. You can also send us a request or a direct message on our Instagram, which is at dialoguealleypodcast. So we are more than happy to answer your questions. And if you don't want it right on the show, that's totally fine. You can just ask any of the 3 of us, Carly included, any questions about books and such. But I think with that, we should move on to the translation of the show.
Sounds great.
All right, so the translation of the show today is Hebrew.
Yay!
I feel like we pick these because we start talking about them in the previous episode, and we're like, man, that's a cool one. So then we talk about it.
Correct.
We talk about it on the next episode. So a little facts on just the language in general, which feel free to add to because you actually studied this way longer than I did.
A little bit.
Hebrew was a dead language, and it was actually revived. And so the Hebrew that's spoken today is actually called modern Hebrew. And there are about 5 million native modern Hebrew speakers. Hebrew, of course, uses the Hebrew alphabet, which is read in our language terms back to front and right to left. And the only official country that has this as a language is Israel. However, it is a recognized minority language in both South Africa and Poland, which I thought was pretty cool. Poland, I'm not surprised. South Africa, I'm a little more surprised, and I'd like to know why.
I'm going to have to research that a little bit, but that is very interesting.
I know. And so I pulled this part right from the Wikipedia article, which I thought was awesome. But I'm going to read it directly. It says, it's the only Canaanite language still spoken and the only truly successful example of a revived dead language, and only one of 2 Northwest Semitic languages still spoken, the other being Aramaic. So cool. The part of that really just jumped out at me was that I didn't really know that it was a dead language and was revived. We've all known that like Latin is a dead language that has not been revived, and you're going to say, wait a second, Eric, I have the Harry Potter book in Latin. And I'm going to say, yes, you do, Johnny, or Carol, or Steve. However, it's only revived for like academic purposes. They mean that there are no places you can go where everyone in that country speaks Latin. It's not an official language of any country anymore. It's obviously still used in different capacities, but it's not official of any country or government. So that's what I've learned about Hebrew.
I mean, I don't really have too much to add to that other than the Hebrew translation. Just little fun facts about it I'll add in. So what's cool is if you read the books, like the words Harry Potter are written out phonetically. It wasn't tried to be like translated into something else. So I think that that's probably a good theme to go by as you look through at other characters. They're probably just written out phonetically, and you could like read them in Hebrew and it would sound like how we would read them in English.
I'm curious,
which is really cool.
Pausing there, I'm curious if that's how the Japanese book is too, because Japan is notorious for like, if it's an English word, they literally just spell it phonetically and it sounds like English. As I found out when I was trying to order a pork cutlet curry at a restaurant, and I pointed to it, and the guy said, "Oh, pork cutlet curry." And I was like, "Yes, that's the one." So
yeah, like I'm looking at the book cover right now, and like Harry Potter, literally, it's Harry Potter translated into saying Harry Potter. It's not translated; it's written phonetically. But where it would say "and the Sorcerer's Stone," that is translated. It's It doesn't have vowels, so it's harder for me to read it. But also at the bottom of the book, it says J.K. Rowling literally is like J.K. Rowling, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So that's like a fun little fact about it.
It is fun. And you know what? As a teacher of language, I do appreciate when names and proper nouns are the same in whatever native language that they originated in. And I don't know why this trend started, but like, we call Germany, Germany, not Deutschland, but they call it Deutschland. So why do we call it Germany? Like, I still don't know. So, you know, I'm a big proponent of like when I have students that have names that are not common names that we hear a lot, to advocate that people learn their name. They don't come up with some nickname or abbreviated name or quote unquote more English sounding name. Like I agree. I don't like that. So I do like when people try to maintain that level of authenticity in terms of identity. So
I agree with that
Yay.
As well. All right. So a new fun thing that we're going to talk about with each of our translations of the show is giving them a fun little rating scale so you can kind of get like our interpretation of how we would rate this book in comparison to other translations that we have. So our rating scale is something that will be familiar to you all, or all you book readers out there. But we're going to rate the book based on its smell, based on its size and the proportions of the book, how it feels in your hand, the quality of it, and the cover art that's featured on it, or the interpretation of the cover art.
Love it.
So the smell of the book, as I open it up and take a nice big whiff, the smell is not like a super potent smell. So I'm going to smell both book one, and also I have the book in the gold edition, which was released for books 1 through 4. They had the book in hardcover for these gold editions, and it came in a cute little box set, but I only have book 1. That one smells a little bit better. I would say as far as a rating, I would give it just an A for acceptable. I don't think it's anything too above average. But what are you thinking?
I'd go with A for acceptable. To me, I have the softcover version. It doesn't smell neither here nor there. It smells like a book.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nothing too fancy. All right, so as far as size and proportion, I would give this an exceeds expectations. I like the size of the book is like very standard. It is one that like you look at it and it's, I don't know. I just feel like the ratio of the book, like length by width, is just like a nice size book. So I would give that like an exceeds expectation.
Yeah, it's a good one. And like for me to really get it, I have to hold it like the correct way in terms of how I read books. Otherwise, it just feels awkward anyway, like opening it the other way for me. Yeah, I would agree with you.
So acceptable, exceeds expectations. How would you rate that?
I think I'd go exceeds expectations. I mean, there are definitely some that are worse, but I think this is a little above average. So,
Yeah.
have people caught on to our rating scale yet?
I hope so. So the next thing's looking at for like how the book feels in your hands and the quality of the book. I would go probably with acceptable to exceeds expectations for both. I feel like the book does feel really nice in your hands, and it's nice that it's unique in that the book is read from right to left instead of left to right. So that is like a fun little added bonus to it. And the quality of the book is really great. Like, it definitely does not feel cheap. The pages are a nice, like, bright white. So yeah, I would say that those are a nice exceeds expectations for that book.
Yeah, I agree, and I would say exceeds expectations as well. And I mean, I'm not surprised by that, but I'm also mildly surprised because there aren't that many Hebrew speakers, like a speaker base in general. I mean, like there are, but there aren't. Like the Bengali translation, which there are probably a lot more Bengali speakers than Hebrew speakers. Mm-hmm. I'm just guessing based on the population of Bangladesh. Like, that book is very poorly made. And so the fact that, you know, the publisher put a lot of care into like making sure this was a legitimately good book to have in terms of quality, like, I appreciate.
Yeah, I agree with you. And something that we always talk about, just to like sidetrack a tiny bit, is these books are like available for purchase still. Like, if you were to go to Israel and go to a bookshop, like, you'd probably see them in the window of the bookstore. I know that I did when I was I was there years ago. But you could walk into a bookstore and ask for Harry Potter, and they will point you in the direction. And if they don't have it, the bookstore around the corner probably does. So that was the case when I bought mine.
Sure. And this came out, what, 2000 or 2001 translation? I think it was right around there.
Yeah, something like that.
So it's actually been around for a while. It was one of the earlier translations.
Yeah, 2000.
Although, if you were looking at the copyright page, I was confused about this. The copyright page in English says copyright 2000, but right below it in Hebrew, it says copyright 2001.
Oh, that's interesting. You're right. So around 2000 or 2001.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But we also want to mention the cover art. On here is the Grand Prix cover art. It's the American, pretty most iconic, in our opinion, art. However, the Harry Potter font at the very top, which in the American version is gold, this book is silver.
Yep. Even the gold edition, it is also in silver, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's like an off silver, but yeah, both silver, which is a nice pop.
It's cool. It's a nice pop. It's a nice pop on the spine too, in my opinion.
No, I was just going to say that one thing that is really cool, and I'm going to turn around really quick so I can look at my shelves, is that they used very contrasting colors on the foils for the entire set.
That was going to be my question. I was going to ask you, because I know you have all of these, so I didn't know if they were all silver or not.
They aren't. They're all different. So the best example of that is Goblet of Fire. The American Goblet of Fire is kind of like almost like an orangey copper foil. But the foil for the Hebrew Goblet of Fire is like a bright red. Ooh. So, which contrasts the green really nicely. That's on that cover. So yeah, that's really cool. So I would say as far as like the cover art or the interpretation of the cover art, I would give it an exceeds expectations. I like that it's interpreted. It's the same cover art that we know, but they put their own little spin on it. So I'm always going to give bonus points for something like that. All right. So do we want to we'll do some quick recommendations?
Yeah, I think so.
So Eric, what are you reading or watching?
Well, I did just watch the movie Knives Out. I've wanted to watch this for some time. With an all-star cast featuring Jamie Lee Curtis and Daniel Craig and the guy that's Captain America. I think his name is Chris Evans or something like that. And a whole bunch more people that are in there. And it is an awesome movie. It's like a murder mystery where the guy dies and everyone in the house is a suspect and they have to try to figure out who did it. And I was super jazzed to watch it, and I was not disappointed. And after watching it, I looked up a little bit about it, and it has like 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. It won a Golden Globe for Best Picture. So I was like, wow. So clearly the rest of the people agreed with me that it was awesome. So if you have Amazon Prime, it's actually on Amazon Prime Video right now. So Knives Out, really, really good. How about you?
I'm currently watching, as far as TV goes, I'm currently watching Bad Batch, which has been out for a while. And we just haven't gotten to watch it. So we're finally like almost caught up on Bad Batch, which is on Disney Plus, and it's like a spin-off of Clone Wars for any of my Star Wars homies out there. And I also just watched the Friends reunion, which was so good. I loved it. I loved like every second of it. It was so nostalgic and so well done. And I love that they didn't just like do however many years later like episode with the actual characters. Like it was just very, very well done what they ended up doing with
my
it.
wife wants to watch that so badly. So good to hear that it's good, because that will...
Yeah, no, it was great. And then just like, this is not what I am either watching or reading or anything, but I'm playing the new Pokemon Snap game, and it's amazing.
I need to get it still.
It's so good. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. Talk about nostalgia. Like, this game is fantastic, and it's so addicting, and it's so easy to just get caught up in it and just play it for hours. It's so good.
I loved the first one on the Nintendo 64, mostly because it was just a very relaxing game, and it was just like...
Oh, totally.
There's a little bit of stress because you're like, I need to get a picture of this Pokemon. And yeah, that sounds really lame to say out loud. I just realized that now. But yeah, like you have to go through the whole like on rails level. And then if you miss it, you're like, and you got to do it again.
If you didn't stress trying to get a perfect picture of Mew, like, I don't know who you are.
Well... Yeah,
that's my answer.
I don't either. But we're talking directly to all of you who have played the N64 Pokemon Snap. But
correct.
No,
but I will say that the new one it's phenomenal. It really is. Like, I've been thoroughly enjoying it. So, highly, highly recommend.
Well, I will pick it up, I think.
Yeah.
When I get another lull, I'm playing through a couple things right now. And so when I run out of stuff to do, I will get that one.
Yeah, that's going to be all we have time for today. And if you want to get in touch with us, you can always find me on Instagram at the Harry Potter Collection. You can also find Erik at Nocturne Erik. That's Nocturne with a K, like Nocturne Alley, or Erik also with a K.
Yeah, they start and end with K. It's pretty exciting.
There you go. And remember, you can find Dialogue Alley on Apple, Google, or all of your other favorite podcast hosting sites. And you can find us directly on Instagram at Dialoguealleypodcast. That's where you're going to be able to find any pictures of any of the books that we talked about today. And make sure that if you like what you are hearing and you have the time to just leave us a quick little review, you can give us a rating, hopefully a 5-star rating if you think that we deserve that. But yeah, the ratings really help us and the reviews help us out a lot too. So other Harry Potter listeners know what they're listening to and will choose to listen to our podcast. And it means a lot to us on a personal level too.
It really does.
All right, so now it is time to walk back through the archway, grab a drink from your favorite Porous Pot pub, and into your daily lives. We'll catch you next time.
Bye.
See ya.